So I haven't bought food from the store in about a month, maybe probably longer. I haven't bought anything from Imperfect for a while because I had a whole bunch of excess food that I wanted to use up. And the reason I'm able to do that is because of the way that I meal prep. So this is a burger that I meal prepped months ago now. And basically what I do is just anytime I feel the urge to cook, I cook whatever it is that I want to cook in a huge batch. I just went on a major cooking spree. I do this every once in a while, like once every, I don't know, a couple weeks or something when I have a lot of produce lying around. I try to do it every single time I get produce, but it doesn't always happen. But basically what happens is I have a ton of produce and I need to do something with it, and I know that if I don't do something with it, it's gonna go bad. And so usually when I get the urge to do one thing, it kind of just like explodes into a whole bunch of other things. And when I cook, I like to cook a lot of servings in one go. Like if I cook dinner one night, I will cook it like 3 times as much as I need, and then I'll save food for later. I'll freeze it for later. So that's what I did this morning when I made tofu scramble. I made more than I needed, and then I eat what I want to eat, and I freeze the rest in glass containers, and then I heat them up in the oven because we don't have a microwave whenever I'm hungry later on. Meal prepping in the traditional sense, where you just like every Sunday or whatever, like once a week, you prepare everything, that just doesn't really work for me because every Sunday I'm not necessarily like in the mood to cook. And every Sunday I'm not necessarily available to cook. Like I might not be home, I might be doing something else. So for my meal prep routine in particular, it needs more flexibility. So I've found that this really works well for me. Like sometimes I want to cook like 5 days a week and then I have a ton of food. And then sometimes I don't cook for like 2 weeks on end because I just don't feel like it, or I'm busy or whatever. And when I have the food ready for me in the freezer, I don't worry about not cooking for 2 weeks on end because I always have healthy meals available to me. This frozen soup here that I probably made 2, maybe even 3 months ago, I'm eating it today here. So all I did was grab the container out of the freezer. It was totally ready to go. I preheated the oven. I put it in the oven because we don't have a microwave. And I put like a silicone mat on top of it so that it wouldn't dry out and it would stay moist on the inside, especially since there's pasta in the soup. And yeah, I just heated it up until it was fully heated throughout, and then I let it sit a little bit on the oven so that this container wouldn't be too hot to hold. And now I am just eating it directly out of the container. It's got potatoes and kale and noodles and chickpeas and garlic, and it tastes way better than any like store-bought soup out of the can that you could buy. And it's way healthier. It has a lot less salt. And I feel good about myself because I made it from scratch. But it literally required 0 effort. All I did was take a container just like this one, pop it in the oven for a little while, pull it out, and then start eating it. So yeah, I really haven't cooked that much over the last month or two because I've just been eating all of the food that I have meal prepped in my freezer. And I've been eating all of the like dry goods and things that I have in my pantry. We don't really have a pantry at our house, so I use the laundry room and the shelving in here to store all of my dried goods that don't fit in the kitchen because we don't have a lot of kitchen space. And most of our kitchen space is taken up by our dishes. So this up here, this is my only food storage in the whole kitchen. And basically all I keep up there are my spices on the bottom left. Up here, that's all my extra containers that I save so I don't have to throw them out. And then all of this here, those are like my meal prep containers, which you can see I'm low on right now because I have so many in the freezer currently. And then this space here, this is actually my roommate's shelf. This is his, and then these 3 are mine. So I really don't have a lot of space, and I mostly use them for my dishes. All of the other cabinets in here we use to store our dishes. This is like cleaning products over here, and I have some towels in there, and then all of that, these my roommate uses And that is like really difficult to access. We basically don't even use those. But that doesn't mean that you can't cook in a zero waste way. That doesn't mean that you can't eat vegan. That doesn't mean that you can't eat healthy. That doesn't mean that you can't save money. And that definitely doesn't mean that you can't enjoy cooking and do it easily and without stress. You just have to be strategic about how you do it. And for me, obviously everybody's different and my method might not work for everyone, but for me, changing the way that I cook and only cooking when I feel motivated and setting myself up for success by having all of these things on the back burner so that when I'm not motivated, I can easily still make something and I don't feel like I need to, go out and get fast food or something like that, or do what I would otherwise do, which is like not eat all day or like make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and just eat like toast because I'm too lazy to cook something. I have the power to set myself up for success by taking advantage of those days when I am very motivated and I do want to cook. And I want to take care of myself. I want to take care of the planet. I want to take care of the animals. So if I can put in a little bit of extra effort on those days when putting in extra effort is no big deal and isn't hard for me to do, then I will definitely do that. But I do think it's important to keep dry goods, and I don't like to go to the grocery store that often. So when I do go, I try to buy everything in large quantities, especially if I can find a good price for something. So like pasta, if they're on sale for 50 cents a box, you bet I'm gonna get like 10 to 12 boxes of it because I know that I'm gonna use it. So during my shelf cooking, season right now that I'm not buying any new food, I'm going through a lot of the things in here. For example, I have a box of fusilli pasta. So I might cook up that pasta and then grab some broccoli from the freezer and some tofu from the freezer that have both already been prepped and cut up and they're ready to go. I'll just heat up the broccoli and the tofu in the pan with some spices and throw that in with the pasta, and then I have a meal good to go. I might make a quick sauce in the blender, like maybe some nutritional yeast with some spices and some oil or cashews, make like a creamy sauce. I've been really digging tofu Alfredo lately, so I'll take like a Tetra Pak of this soft tofu and like just throw this in the blender with some nutritional yeast and some onion powder and some garlic powder and blend it all up, maybe a couple of other spices, maybe some bouillon or something. And this makes a really creamy like Alfredo style sauce. And then when you just combine that with your frozen vegetables and some kind of protein, you have a really easy meal. So I meal prep all sorts of foods. I don't just meal prep, like lentil burgers or whatever. Let me just show you what I have in my freezer right now so you can get a good idea. So in here I have some tofu that's freezing. I'm gonna turn these into tofu nuggets. I have some hamburger buns. I have frozen bananas that I like to use for smoothies. I have some vegetables that I like baked in the oven. I roasted and then I froze them to act as a good side. These are my lentil burgers. These are some more vegetables. Down here I have tofu scramble and potato hash. In here, I think this is zucchini bread, but okay, let's see. Yeah, I have some zucchini bread that I made. This is really good. I'm saving it because it's so delicious and I don't want to like eat it too fast and not really appreciate it. Back here I have a whole bunch of burritos that I made a while back. This is broccoli and possibly even some kale, I don't remember, that I blanched so that it could freeze. And then this is soup. All four of these are soup. This here is kind of funny. It's a soup that I accidentally left on the stovetop for too long. And it kind of boiled down and it got like really flavorful and really delicious. It ended up turning into almost like a chili or a curry or something. And I mean like Bob Ross happy accident, man. I decided to just pair it with some rice and it is really freaking good. And then up here I have some strawberries and some ginger. And that is just what I have left over. I mean, this freezer had so many more meals in it before And I've just been trying to go through them because honestly I was running out of space in the freezer, and I didn't, frozen food lasts for a long time, but it doesn't last forever. So I did want to go through some of the older stuff. And you can see that I basically have nothing in my refrigerator right now. I have some cabbage back there, a loaf of bread, some dates, some tempeh, but like no vegetables, nothing. And I've literally been surviving off of what's in here. And you can also see over here, I don't have any like fresh fruits or vegetables or anything. I do have a cat though, hello. So I'm on my last potato and just a clove of garlic. But I did that on purpose, and I had like overload of potatoes and like a few vegetables and things that I hadn't eaten, and they were starting to go bad. And I decided, okay, I'm not gonna buy anything. I'm just going to eat what I have. This is a concept that I use from this YouTuber called, the YouTube channel is called Fun Cheaper Free, or funcheaperfree.com or something. Basically, this woman has a family of like 11 plus. She came up with this concept called shelf cooking, which like isn't anything new, but I think she coined the term shelf cooking. And it's one of those things that like our grandparents and our parents probably did for a long time, but it kind of has been lost because we're just so used to throwing out food instead of like using what we already have. So basically, I just stop purchasing any additional food and I use what I have. I make do with what I have, to the point where I will like make my own oat milk sometimes if I have a lot of oats lying around. If I have a million potatoes and I don't know what to do with them, I will make French fries or potato hash. Right now, the last thing that I was going through was this giant bucket of tofu that I had to use. So tofu was my protein of choice for a couple of weeks there because I needed to go through it. And this is especially important for fresh fruits and vegetables. The reason why you see that I have a whole bunch of roasted veggies and broccoli and strawberries in my freezer is because I had them in my refrigerator. I couldn't eat them fast enough and they were gonna go bad. So I figured out how to freeze them. I roasted a huge batch, like 3 full trays of vegetables that were going bad, and then just popped them in the freezer. So whenever I need a side of roasted vegetables, I can just heat them up and they're good to go. I had strawberries that were going bad and I couldn't eat them fast enough, so I just chopped them up. And now I have them frozen. I can put them in smoothies or something else later. And broccoli, I love, and I actually find frozen vegetables super convenient. And I love to buy them like in the bag from the store, but I don't like the plastic. So what I do is I just buy it fresh and I freeze it myself. I can get fresh broccoli from Imperfect for really cheap and then just like boil it and throw it in cold water to blanch it. And that's all you need to do to be able to freeze big batches of it. And then it's basically cooked. Whenever I want to use it, I just bring it out of the freezer, pop it in my stir fry, or just heat it up and have it on the side, or whatever I need to use broccoli for. It's already like prepared and cut, and it makes cooking super easy. And when I say that I cook big proportions, I like really mean it. I got very few good things from my mom, but this is one of them. Thank you, Mom. Growing up, my mom would always cook extra food just so that we would have leftovers. And I mean, we had like a decently large family. There's at least 4 children in the house at all times, plus my mom, so 5 of us, and she was a single parent, so she didn't have a lot of time to cook. And she didn't have a lot of money. So we ate most of our meals at home. We like rarely ate out. And we didn't eat a lot of like prepared processed food unless it was like a really cheap frozen meal. And that was on days when she was working and she wasn't home. But my mom really prioritized eating together as a family. She prioritized eating food that was freshly cooked. And so we avoided eating most of those like frozen meals. And this is how she did it. She would just cook extra every time that she cooked and then leave it in the refrigerator for later. And then, like the next day we would have leftovers. We'd have leftovers probably 3 times a week, sometimes more often. For me, as a single person, my mom's strategy is not as useful because I make so many servings that I just like couldn't possibly go through all of them in enough time before they go bad. So I freeze the proportions, or I freeze those servings instead of just keeping them in the refrigerator. There's a crazy reflection on my glasses right now, but whatever. So basically, by doing the meal prep in stages as I go along, I find that it's a lot easier for me to cook. Instead of getting stressed out and kind of anxious about needing to cook a big batch of things once a week and like having to commit to a date and having to plan out exactly everything that I need to do. If I just do things when I feel like it, but do a lot of it, then later on when I'm not as motivated, I can kind of assemble things and make them work. And this kind of applies to every single thing that I do in the kitchen. I don't go to the grocery store once a week. I go whenever I feel like it or whenever I need something. And then when I'm there, I buy a lot of stuff. I don't get my imperfect order every week. I get it every other week. And when I get it, I buy a lot of stuff. I don't cook on any scheduled days. But when I do cook, when I'm motivated to, I cook a lot of stuff. I don't necessarily plan out what I cook either. I kind of just cook whatever I feel like it, and if there's something that needs to be prepped while I'm cooking, like something going bad, I make sure that I chop it up when I'm chopping up all my other stuff. Sometimes I even cut up things like garlic and onions ahead of time because I know that that's something that I don't really like to do when I'm unmotivated. And then if one day I want to come home and eat something fresh, but I'm like not really excited about cooking, I can just assemble the thing. You know, I already have onions cut up in the freezer. I can just pop them out of the freezer and throw them in a pan, start frying them up, and then, you know, what do you know? I also have some greens that I froze in the freezer. I can just throw them in there too. And I've got a can of beans in the cabinet. I could just pop that open and throw that in there. And like boiling pasta or boiling rice, that's like super easy. So all of these little things that I do, I make sure that I do them when I have motivation so that cooking doesn't feel like a chore. And I kind of set myself up for success so that when I don't have motivation, I'm still able to eat healthy, I'm still able to save money, I'm still able to waste less plastic and create less waste, also throw away less food that goes bad because I'm optimizing myself. I'm taking advantage of the times when I feel motivated, when I want to cook, when I'm excited to cook, and not forcing myself to cook when I don't want to. And one amazing benefit to this whole system of meal prepping whenever you feel like it, as opposed to meal prepping once a week and then eating all of those meals throughout the week, is that you will naturally get variety. Every time I cook something new. I cook whatever I feel like eating in that moment. So it might be Mexican, it might be a curry, it might be soup, it might be burgers, it might be a stir fry. It could be a whole bunch of different things. And so then when I put those in the freezer and then I go back to eat them later, I have 5, 6, sometimes 10 different cuisines to choose from because I've accumulated all of these different meals over a long period of time. Then if I go in there and I'm really feeling breakfast for dinner, I have tofu scramble. But if I'm not feeling breakfast for dinner and I just want an easy burrito to just throw in the oven, then I have that too. Or if I want to cook, but I'm just I don't want to do all of the cooking, I don't want to really intensely cook, I just want to cook a little bit, then I can throw some ingredients together, or I can cook one portion of a meal and then heat up the other portions of the meal. So this system really gives you more flexibility, in my opinion, and makes it a lot easier to just eat. Another cool environmental benefit of this system is that you'll have a lot of food in your freezer, and the more things you have in your freezer, the more energy efficient your freezer will be, because the things in your freezer actually keep your freezer cold. And if your power goes out or something like that, the things in your freezer will kind of act like ice packs, and continue to keep your food cold even if you don't have the energy to keep it cold. It's just like a small environmental benefit, but everything helps, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you with some of your meal prepping strategies, maybe gave you some ideas about how you could meal prep in a way that benefits you more than what people traditionally say or what works for others. Obviously, this is not going to work for everyone. It won't work for you if you don't have a freezer or you don't have room in your freezer or something like that. But it will work for some of you, and hopefully it will make things easier for you or inspire you in some way and give you ideas. That's all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one in the future. And I will see you in the next one.